Am I the a-hole for getting mad at my friends for having sex beside me while I was asleep? My friends and I, 25 female, were on a getaway to the mountains and had rented a house for our stay. After a long day, we returned back to the house, relaxed, had our dinner, and divided all the rooms amongst ourselves. I was sharing the room with my friend 25 female Nancy. All goes well. We turn the lights off and I am asleep before I know it. I was so tired. In the middle of the night, I am awakened by an earthquake. Or so I thought. The bed is moving and peculiar noises seem to be coming from behind me. I turn around and lo and behold, my very two friends are going at it. Right beside me. I literally jumped out of the bed. They tried to cover up as fast as they could, but I had already seen things I'll never forget. I was seeing red, lol. It triggered a crappy memory from my childhood where I had been in a very similar situation, but with my parents. I yelled at them and straight up started insulting both of them. And I said pretty mean stuff. I then dashed out of the room and spent the night on the couch in the cold. The next morning, my other friend who found me on the couch asked me about what happened and that she heard me yelling last night. I told her the whole story, and for some reason, she found it funny. When everyone else found out about what happened, they started laughing and making jokes, which I didn't mind since it lightened the mood a little. Nancy and the guy Rick soon came out of the room as well. Everyone told me to just forget about it and enjoy the rest of the trip. But Nancy told me that I was way too rude for something so silly. Rick didn't say much. He looked kind of embarrassed of the whole thing. I told Nancy that they could have woke me up and asked me to leave if they were so horny. And that I had every right to be mad because you don't start banging on a bed where someone is literally sleeping. Nancy said that I was overreacting and it was not that deep. I was annoyed and pissed, and told her to stay away from me for the rest of the trip since we were all there to enjoy. Now that we're back, Nancy refuses to talk to me and is adamant in saying that I was the one who was at fault and is being a pain in my ass in general. She's calling me a virgin, which I am, and claiming that I am just jealous that she is more desirable than me. She said all this to my face in private, so no one in the group knows. Everyone in the friend group thinks that I should just let it go and reconcile with Nancy and Rick. But Nancy keeps putting all the blame on me, and it's getting on my nerve now. So, am I the a-hole? You're not the a-hole. Having X next to someone without their consent is disgusting, and you have every right to be upset. Literally. I didn't even have to read anything past the title to know my vote is you're not the a-hole. You are never the a-hole for being upset when someone involves you in any sexual act without your consent. Point blank period. My roommate and I had a bunk bed set up in our dorm. And I had the top bunk. I can't even count the number of times I woke up with the bed moving back and forth from him and his girlfriend doing it. You're not the a-hole in my opinion. Even if I was extremely close to someone, I would not want to wake up to them having X in the same bed as me. In the same room is a stretch as well. It's gross, insensitive, and inconsiderate. You're not the a-hole. Your friends are. I personally would be reconsidering if it's worth being friends with them after this. Nancy is hardcore TA. Hope they see this post. The friends and Nancy are a-holes. Update. Am I the a-hole for getting mad at my friends for having X beside me while I was asleep? Turns out Nancy and Rick were using me to fulfill some weird X fantasy, and the whole group was in on it. They all knew that Rick and Nancy were planning on doing something like this, and they both did it with me, particularly because I am waiting for marriage to have X, and am still a virgin. I've been an inside joke in the friend group for God knows how long, and I had no idea that they thought of me like that. They think just because I am waiting for marriage, I am a loser who can't get anybody to sleep with me. As if I am not a sane adult who can make her own choices regarding her own damn body. 2 people in the group had done this exact same thing with another girl, but that girl had laughed it off. So they saw nothing wrong with it. They just thought it would be so funny to prank me like that. A guy in the same group told me all this privately after I shared the link of the original post in our group chat. He said that he would have told me on the trip itself, but he got pressured into staying quiet because it will ruin the fun. I am truly disgusted. Rick did apologize, but I haven't heard from Nancy. The others who were laughing said they didn't think it would be a big deal, and wouldn't have participated if they knew it would make me uncomfortable. They don't know that I know about all the jokes they make on me behind my back. And all the apologies came only after I shared the post and made them read what the comments were saying. I have decided to ghost them altogether. I'd rather have no friends than associate myself with a bunch of judgmental idiots who act like 16-year-olds. I also wanted to clarify that the childhood memory I had mentioned wasn't overwhelming. My parents were doing it beside me thinking I was asleep, but I woke up from the noises they were making. The room was dark. I didn't see anything. Except their silhouettes. And they never realized that I was awake. Thank you to everyone who showed their support and gave advice. Your former friends are a bunch of ducking creeps. The fact that they're getting off on involving non-consenting people in their ex-life, and that this whole group colluded to make you the victim, is crazy as duck. If any member of the friend group are reading the comments, I hope you guys are content with knowing that such a large number of the Reddit community views you all as mad people. The fact that you constantly belittle OP for her virginity shows your obvious immaturity, and that you are all straight up craziness and immaturity. If you guys want to comment to defend your actions, go right ahead. They probably will be downvoted to an oblivion though, just as a warning. The problem with your friends is that I think for some of them they didn't realize they could just say no, and that it would be okay. I was you in college. My friend group respected my stance. Not having ex doesn't mean no one will sleep with you. Just that you won't sleep with any old body that comes along. I have seen my friends deeply regret the people they slept with. One friend even lied to her husband about her body count. It's not worth it. Your friends are immature and all they proved is they have the ability to lay down big whoop. Second story. Trigger warning. Cancer and death. My 26 female with my husband 29 male 1 year. He has been diagnosed with terminal cancer. How to make it count? I'll keep it short. I married my childhood sweetheart. The only man I've ever loved, and it's been a wonderful year. He got diagnosed with cancer recently. At first we were hopeful and started his treatment. He didn't respond to it, and it continued spreading. Apparently at a very fast pace. It reached a point where the doctors recommended to stop chemo, as it was not proving to be useful. The surgeons refused to attempt removal as it's almost certain death. We've got a second, third, fourth, millionth opinion. We accept it now. He has less than a month. I am here looking for suggestions to make this time count for him and for us. He's weak but is able to do his day-to-day activities independently, thanks to medications for some ugly symptoms. However, I need suggestions that aren't strenuous and preferably indoor activities. Too long didn't read How Do I Live Not Survive the Last Days. Edit. Thank you so much for all your support and comments. Overwhelmed with all the responses. Some very good suggestions and I'll definitely be implementing them. Thanks for all the messages too. Staying strong, we are even making morbid jokes to keep it light. The practical suggestions are important too and hadn't even crossed my mind. Special thanks for that as well. Thanks a lot everyone. Update. Let me begin by saying that as much as I was daydreaming that I'll get to update everyone of a miraculous recovery my brave darling made, I had to wake up to the bitter reality. My husband passed away a few days ago. And just as a lot of you had warned me, with all the preparation in the world and a warning that not many are fortunate to receive, absolutely nothing about when it actually happened felt like I was at all ready. It may as easily have been sudden. He fought bravely to the end, and I am proud of his attitude. I am happy he doesn't have to suffer and put on a brave face for me anymore. I am here to thank all of you. Despite what I said above about not feeling prepared, I do feel blessed for having got that time. We may not have completely finished the list, but we sure got to do some of the things that the busy preoccupations of life and all its cruelty snatches from a lot of people. We may not be completely without regrets, but we managed to make our list of I wish I had's a lot shorter than it would have been before the warning. So here I am to thank everyone who commented, replied, PM'd on that post. It meant a lot to both of us. A sincere thanks to all of you. Here's an update of all the things we did end up doing, and I hope this will help someone else like us out there. As suggested by a lot of you. Pictures and videos. I have loads of data of him doing his daily chores to just snoring away next to me. And I still don't think it's enough. Do this. You may not have a warning. You may regret it if you don't. A little background of me here. I've always been anti-pictures. I would proudly say make memories, not photo albums, and that if something is important enough, you'll remember it. While I still stand by that to a certain extent, I do condone finding that balance. I would charge my tab, turn on the camera, and put it in our room, so I could enjoy him and then re-enjoy our moments later. And we made the heavily suggested naughty videos as well. Fair warning. Getting closure is important, so don't get drowned in these memories either. It's too soon for me, but I do understand the risks and will look out for myself. Which brings me to my next point. Discussing the future. As much as one would want to avoid thinking about a life beyond the one they love the most, not thinking of it will make it that much harder when it inevitably comes. Here's where all the advice on being practical was executed. Practicality on financial and emotional fronts. Financial being having all the financial information, including account numbers, passwords, life insurance policy details, wills, and any debts, and the latter being arranging for a therapist and talking about expectations from a partner after one is gone and discussing the kids' futures, if any. He documented all the financial information and verified it twice. Taught me how to access his bank site and wrote down a step-by-step guide on how to get the insurance money once he was gone. He wrote a letter addressed to my next spouse with all the not so easy to discover things about me that were wonderful and necessary. In his words, I wrote a book about him. I am an aspiring author, and I am proud to say that the love of my life is the sole reader of my only book. Scrapbook. This was so fun. I collected screenshots of the best and meanest things we've ever said to each other. Printed those. Interspersed those with our pictures over the years in chronological order, starting with the cliched obligatory baby pictures. Threw in a few lists I wrote out of top 9 dates. Top 9 best ex. Top 9 reasons I love him, both our birthdays fall on 9th, etc. Mixed in a crossword puzzle he had to solve, and our scrapbook was ready. I named a star after him. I know this is slightly silly, but now I can look at him whenever I want. Needless to say, indefinite time off work. Spent every waking moment in his arms and sleeping moment in his tightly wrapped arms. Yes. Lots of cuddling and just being together. Balcony picnic. This was an excellent idea. Stars. Candlelight. Good food and some good old-fashioned open-air X. Speaking of which, lots of X. We discussed with his doctors, and freezing his sperm was not a possibility at this stage, so that couldn't pan out. The last life party. I wanted to call it the party that never ends, but he played the cancer card, so I was shot down. All his friends and family came over. Everyone said a few things about into him. Nobody was allowed to cry. I told them I was spending a lot on the funeral, and he was stealing my thunder by being a tear hogger. It was actually pretty nice, with gag jokes from his goofy friends. Something like a Halloween with a ghost attending, but he's friendly like Casper rather than being creepy scary. Told him I loved him. Constantly. And anything else that came to my mind that I wanted him to know. He was quite a sport about it and returned the favor. We played cards together. Watched football matches and his favorite shows together. Things he loves. Casually holding each other. Festival week, a day designated to all the festivals. Milestone birthdays, video recording for each with a message. Cooked his favorite meals for him. He was my happy helper. He'd wash the tomatoes and I'd make the lasagna. He called me the food conjurer. Made him wear his favorite shirts for several days, so now they'll smell like him for some time. Knit him a sweater. Made a portrait of his. Things very specific to him that he wanted to do, a small bucket list that I won't bore you with. I feel like I've lived a lifetime in the last month. The quote about living each day like your last got realized. I made a lot of memories I'll never forget. I want to say one more thing before I sign off. All those who have been patient enough to make it to this part of the post, or impatient enough to skip to this part, thanks for reading. I have read a lot of things on this sub, and unfortunately a majority of the things I read are escapist, overcautious, and pessimistic. While I encourage the right of one to protect themselves from potential hurt, I do find the world hiding behind that right, shying away from happiness and condemning others at the drop of a hat. Not meaning to sound preachy or claiming to know anyone's personal situation, I do wish to say this. Believe in people. Believe in goodness. Believe in second chances. My husband and I didn't have it perfect. We had our rough patches and forgave each other for mistakes if the other truly showed repentance for them. I could have left him long back and I would have been in the same scenario I am today, leading a life without him. The difference is I would have chosen that in the former scenario, whereas now I have to accept the situation. And being here, I know I would give anything in the world for the choice right now. I am so glad I was wise enough to look past his tiny flaws and fill my life with moments of the absolutely wonderful loving man he was. Be vulnerable. Take risks. Get hurt. It's part of being a human and it's okay. As long as you're not being downright stupid, harming yourself or those around you irreparably, and not being codependent, enabling someone's flaws rather than accepting them. It's okay to make mistakes. That's how we learn and grow. And on the chance that it's not a mistake, the potential upside is limitless. In the comments of my original post, a lot of you wrote that you cried and told you loved them, or gave them a random hug much to their surprise. I'll admit that those comments made me happier than anything else. That our story could inspire some bonds somewhere to get stronger was the greatest compliment. So I request anyone reading this to do this today. Give your that surprise hug. Tell them you love them. I wouldn't wish what we went through on my worst enemy, and I am still glad I got that time. But most of you won't. This time is that time for you. I am sorry that for most of you, it will be sudden, painful, and prolonged. Living your life like each day is your last is impractical. But living your relationship like each day is your last is the easiest and most comforting thing in the world. Hug them. Hold them. Tell them you love them. Cheers to all the love in the world. Thank you all once again. Too long didn't read. My husband passed away. This update is to thank all of you for your wonderful advice and support. Edit 1. Thank you once again, Reddit, for all the overwhelming response. Thanks for all the tears, all the hugs, and all the support. Thanks for the PMs offering more support. And above all, thanks for our story helped make a difference in your life. I am so grateful to each of you who's vowed to work on their relationships and love their partners more. I am trying to reply to each one of you kind-hearted folks. Apologies if I have missed out on anyone. Thank you for being with me in this time. Your thoughts, prayers, and support means a lot to me. I cried reading this post. This update is so beautiful. Thank you for sharing. I don't have the right words to say how I am feeling after reading this. But I wish you the best. At work in tears right now. Husband and I have had one hell of a tough year, and sometimes it's left me wondering if all this pain is worth it. I am going home to take him to our favorite hole-in-the-wall Thai place and out for a night walk in the woods. I am so sorry for your loss. Thank you for reminding me what's important. Edit. Followed through with my plans. After eating, we went to the trails that we first kissed at. I brought a flashlight, and we made love like desperate teenagers and laughed at the thought of getting an indecent exposure misdemeanor. We are both fairly respected professionals, and way too old to be doing that. I'd highly recommend it. It was the best night either of us can remember in the last year. Thanks again, OP. You made my day. Truly. Thank you for saying this. Wish you guys my sincerest best. Work through whatever it is to that happiness with the occasional hiccup. Cheers. This is so beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing this. Your husband got to live the last month of his life surrounded by so much love and happiness. The love the two of you shared and will continue to share, even after his passing, is a testament to all that is good and beautiful and magical in this world. I want you to know that your words about taking photos and videos really hit home for me. I am not a big picture person either. But I am going to go home and take photos of my husband sitting at his computer, eating ice cream in that adorable dopey way he does, cuddling with our protesting cats. I am so sorry for your loss. And thank you again for sharing this part of your life and love with your husband. Third story. Am I the a-hole for telling my boyfriend he needs to change his lifestyle or get a better paying job? The basics. We have been together 2 years but known each other for 5. I grew up in a very wealthy family, literally knew 1-2 billionaires, and he grew up very close to the poverty line. He is a software engineer. I am a finance student. My boyfriend is $250K in debt. $250,000. To be fair, it is all from college debt. But that is not the point I am trying to make here. He is a software engineer, and he is making $87K. While that is okay for someone his age 24, he could be making a lot more as a software engineer. I frankly don't care how much he makes. What I do care about is how much debt he is in, and how he is not doing anything to change it. With that salary of $87K, he is renting a $3,000 apartment. Which is expensive. But not crazy for downtown Chicago. He has said over and over again how he has no expendable income, as almost all of the rest is going to the minimum monthly loan payments on his 20-year plan. He attributes that to the reason he has never taken me to dinner or any other date, unless you count Six Flags, using his father's yearly passes. And his father's truck then. He will make an impulse purchase, most recently a 4-foot Lego model of a Star Destroyer from Star Wars, $600, and will go down the rabbit hole of anxiety. I have told him over and over this isn't sustainable. We need to find a cheaper place. I love you. Which means I don't want the weight of debt on your shoulders for the rest of your life. Typically I will say this, and he will flip out and sometimes even yell. Then cry. I tried to suggest him getting a new job. And he even has an interview for a job that would pay $130K a year. However, when this was presented to him, he said we could get an even nicer place just like you me have always wanted. I tell him I do want that kind of place, but maybe after you have paid off your debt and I am working full-time. We have to watch out for lifestyle inflation. When I say this, he gets frustrated and will say something along the lines of I need nice things, so that I am motivated to work harder. I earn these nice things, I should be able to spend my money I earn. It's frustrating because it seems the more I try to be nice about it, the more I try to support him and guide him in the right way, he gets upset at me. He continuously tells me that he wants me to stay at home while he works. Which is fine. Great even, but that means my fate literally rests on his finances, and when I try to educate him, he won't listen. At the same time, I feel like I am approaching this from a place of privilege. I grew up with money. He didn't. I have heard that people who come from poverty have a hard time controlling their finances if they break that cycle. Maybe I shouldn't be so hard on him. So just tell me, am I the a-hole? You're not the a-hole. Stay in your program. Plan on building a career of your own, not be supported by him. Don't commingle your money. And don't marry him unless he makes sustained change. You can't change him. But you can protect yourself from the consequences of his folly. I guess it's important to note that according to his mom, he has been ring shopping. Again. We have never gone on a formal dinner date. Not once. We do live together, so it all seems a lot. We are perfect for each other except for this one thing. Hit like if you enjoyed this video. Consider subscribing to our channel.